The latest issue of the New American Magazine includes our biannual Freedom Index scorecard. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the Freedom Index, it rates congressmen based on their adherence to constitutional principles of limited government, fiscal restraint, national sovereignty, and a traditional foreign policy of non-intervention. Now, in this issue of the Freedom Index, the average scores in both the House and Senate were a dismal 34%. For the House of Representatives, votes 31 through 40 for the 114th Congress, the votes that we chose were warrantless surveillance, green energy mandates, foreign aid to Pakistan, foreign aid to Syria, authorization for use of military force relating to the war on terror, Countering Terrorist Radicalization Act, abortion, paraplant emissions, the National Defense Authorization Act, and continuing appropriations.
All right, moving on to the Senate votes. One thing about the Senate I'd like to say, first of all, I'm sure Christian can relate to this, it's becoming increasingly difficult to select good votes from the Senate because it appears they really don't do a whole lot. They just vote on appropriations bills and confirm President Obama's nominees, things of that nature. There's not much there. It's very hard to find 10 good votes. But we did manage to do it. This time around we picked domestic programs, firearm sales background checks, firearm restrictions relating to the no-fly list, sanctuary cities, GMO labeling, opioid abuse treatment and prevention, Saudi Arabia, the National Defense Authorization Act, continuing appropriations, and water projects. Okay, now we're just going to take a look at how some of the senators and representatives voted in this Freedom Index and some of their scores. So we'll take it back over to Christian for that.
Thanks, John. In the House of Representatives, we had, as I stated earlier, 34% was the average score in the House and in the Senate, which is very low. That's correct. We had a lot of, unfortunately, quite a number of congressmen who received zeros as their Freedom Index score totals. But rather than going through all of those, we'll just go through the few who actually received a 100% score, and those would be Congressman Thomas Massie, Republican of Kentucky, and Congressman Justin Amash, Republican of Michigan. Now, regarding Thomas Massie, he was the only congressman for the 114th Congress to have a cumulative score of 100% for all four of the Freedom Indexes themselves. Justin Amash's score was 95%. You could look back at the previous votes where he maybe did not perform to our expectations as constitutionalists. But nevertheless, Justin Amash and Thomas Massie are the top-tier constitutionalists of the House. How about things in the Senate?
Okay, moving on to the Senate, we actually had several senators get a 0% score for this Freedom Index, and believe it or not, they were all Democrats. And no one in the Senate actually got a 0% for the entire 114th Congress, but several got 0 for this time around. Okay, and for this Freedom Index, one senator achieved a 100% score, and that was Mike Lee of Utah, Republican, which is pretty understandable. He's usually pretty good constitutionally. And for a total score cumulative for the entire 114th Congress, no one senator got 100% for the entire time.
If you want to see the rest of the scores in this issue's Freedom Index, be sure to get your copy of the New American Magazine at shopjbs.org.